Today, we're going to take a look at how to make championship rivalries matter in your WWE 2K25 Universe mode. Make sure to like and subscribe and check out my channel for many other Universe mode booking tips and tricks. Firstly, you must know the role of each title. For the world titles in the men and women's divisions, those are your biggest brand titles that they're built around. They have the biggest feuds of each year, they main event WrestleMania with those belts. They're the most important feuds you gotta make sure you're paying attention to. And for your mid-cards, they're used to mainly help build stars, but also take the opportunity to mix in former world title holders into this division at times, because it could be stronger challengers for the titles, and ultimately, when these former world title winners now hold a mid-card title, it can add a lot more prestige, and it'll also help elevate your younger talent, because they'll need to overcome these former main eventers to win the mid-card titles and build more stock in themselves as they become future main eventers. And for your tag titles, they're used to show off the best tag teams in each your shows, and also gives you a great change of pace from singles action, showing off different ways that wrestlers can occupy the ring. It's also a great way of showing off new dominant alliances and factions. It can also give single stars a chance to compete in the tag team title division, because at some point maybe your singles divisions become overcrowded, or maybe your stars have already done everything and they need a change of pace. So why not have them for a tag team or alliance, and pursue a new goal besides something in the singles division. Okay, now with that out of the way, let's take a look at when you should be booking your title matches. For the world titles, these should rarely be booked on weekly shows. In real life, this past year, it feels like WWE has way overdone it with world title matches on Raw and SmackDown. I personally think you should really only have them when it makes sense to push your rivalry. Really only when it's necessary, which is probably only a few times a year at most. Each world title should really be consistently on PLEs outside of a couple opportunities for Raw and SmackDown. So for me, I like to have each world title be on 2 of every 3 PLEs. They don't need to be on every single PLE as it could be overdone. And then also you have Crown Jewel, which is now Raw Champion for SmackDown Champion. You also have War Games, which maybe you want a champion in there. So it's hard to have them on. It's hard to have each world champion on every single PLE, because there's 11 or 12 each year. So having them on 2 out of every 3 PLEs, it makes sure you have great matches at each PLE to live up to the expectation that fans would have. Then for your mid-card scene, since mid-cards aren't as prestigious as the world titles, and PLE cards really only have so many matches and so little room, to be honest, for a lot of matches, they should be definitely defended on some PLEs, but they should also be defended a lot more on weekly television than the world titles. I personally aim for every mid-card title in both the men's and the women's division to be defended on about 1 of every 2 or 3 PLEs. The 2 or 3 depends on really how strong that division is that year. If it's a weak division, 1 out of every 3. If it's a strong division, 1 out of every 2. Since the mid-card titles aren't being defended on each PLE every month, it obviously means you shouldn't have them be defended less often and just take advantage of Raw or SmackDown. If you have a mid-card title match on a Raw or SmackDown, it could be a great way of making a go-home show feel special before a PLE. Make it the main event the night before Elimination Chamber, the night before Backlash, whatever it is. Make the build of that PLE even more special with a huge mid-card title fight in the main event. Then for your tag titles, this will be pretty similar to your mid-card titles. They aren't very prestigious, but they are a great way to have a change of pace for your cards besides your singles matches. And there are 3 tag titles across the men's and women's divisions and both brands. So what I like to personally do is I have each set of tag belts defended usually on about 1 of every 3 PLE basis. So basically, this is a great way of having a chance to show them off at a PLE, but at the same time you have a 2 months buffer in between a PLE month build-up, which that basically allows you to have great weekly shows where you really develop each tag team. You make sure their storylines developed into bigger tag feuds for that 3rd month where they are on a PLE. And it's a great way of making sure you're building it into a worthy rivalry that should be shown on a PLE, with a great build-up of all the tag teams getting into it in those 2 months building up to that 3rd month PLE. So now that we've gone over when we should be booking these titles, let's now talk about how to utilize the entire division during the title reigns. So first off, what I like to do is I like to make sure I identify my top tier threats in each division versus the supporting cast. And by supporting cast, I don't mean people who are going to take the fall every week. I mean people that are worthy to be in that division, but aren't like these clear-cut men or women that are going to win the titles, but they're going to be strong contenders that make your champions look great. So for example, I like to identify usually 2 to 3 top-tier talents, top-tier threats per each division, and the rest will be supporting cast. And when I go about booking these title fights between top-tier talents and supporting cast, what I like to personally do for the most part is, you don't have to follow this 100%, but I like to alternate feuds between your champion versus a top-tier threat, and then your champion versus a supporting cast. So threat, supporting cast, threat, supporting cast. This way, it really allows for highly anticipated matches versus top-tier threats, while also giving your supporting cast PLE time or big weekly show time in the main events to get in front of the audience to help boost their stock as well. Another thing when you're utilizing your vision, you want to make sure you have an idea of how long you want each champion to have their reign for. You don't need to have an exact timeline, but a rough estimate is pretty helpful. This helps you plan out your next future champion. Because when you have an idea of who your next future champion will be in a timeline until they eventually maybe win that title, it gives you time to also build up their resume as well, as they beat other supporting cast members and maybe even some top tier threats. So that when they get the opportunity to fight for that title at a PLE or a main event weekly show, they're seen as a legit title contender and someone who could actually take the belt off your current champion. So now let's segue now into building contenders, as building up faces and heels should be handled completely differently, as they usually have vastly different paths to winning a title or at least moving up the ranks to contending for a title. Starting off with faces, they'll typically win a title in one of 3 different ways. The first way that they usually win a title is from these long drawn out chases, but they are action packed so that it keeps the fans entertained. Think of like Daniel Bryan overcoming the Authority and eventually winning the championship at WrestleMania after being overlooked for so long. Or think about Cody Rhodes chasing the WWE title that his father just could never get his hands on. Or think about Sheamus chasing the IC title, as it's the only title left that he has not had so far. As a side note though, just because you build a superstar to great heights with a chase, it doesn't mean they need to end up being successful with their chase. Sheamus, he still hasn't won the IC title after his WrestleMania triple threat loss. And Cody Rhodes, in his first opportunity at WrestleMania, he lost his WWE title match before eventually winning it, obviously, but it still made for great captivating stories. Now, our second way that faces could potentially win titles or move up the rankings is by being undeniable. Some faces have this undeniable gimmick that the fans really get behind and cheer for loud and proud every week. Think about Jeff Hardy and LA Knight. This led them to getting huge opportunities for titles. For Jeff Hardy specifically, he had the chance to be the WWE champion. While LA Knight, he was quickly pushed in the main event scene, taking on Roman Reigns. Ultimately, he would come up short for the WWE title, but after that, he was quickly moved to the mid-card scene, where he would obviously go on to win the US title from Logan Paul, as his need for a title push was undeniable. In these cases, it was clear that some massive chase for a title just wasn't necessary, as people really wanted to see these superstars contend for a title or even win one right then and there on the spot. And that right decision was made. Just hand them the title sometimes, give them that quick opportunity. It makes really your division more exciting when you have more stars who are very popular just getting opportunity after opportunity. That's what the fans really want to see. Lastly, the third way that faces typically win or get title matches is through Money in the Bank. The Money in the Bank briefcase, it can be booked as an easy title change from a cheap shot cash-in. But with faces, over the years, it's been a little different. They don't really take that route. Think about John Cena. Years ago when he won Money in the Bank, he told CM Punk exactly when and where he was going to cash in. This is a great way to set up a main event for a weekly show, or make for a crazy PLE moment, as maybe a champion will or a Money in the Bank holder will preemptively announce their cash in, which could create a PLE main event out of nowhere, or make themselves an addition to an already scheduled PLE title match. This can cause it to become a normal singles match to now become a triple threat match. Now take a look at how heels really chase titles and get their path to one. It's really one of 2 ways for the most part. The first one is they just climb the rankings by using dirty and cheap tactics to beat out other contenders. It really helps when they have a faction or allies behind them to help gain that opportunity. Think of Finn Balor when he was at the Judgment Day. He had the Judgment Day's help when he ultimately failed to get the world title off of Seth Rollins, but they helped week in, week out, made attacks, gave him opportunities. Their help really usually backfired, but it was there to help him at least get to that point where he can contend for a title. But these heels necessarily don't need a faction or allies for that help, though. Think of someone like Shinsuke Nakamura, who was able to use dirty and heel tactics in his return to then earn a title shot at LA Knight, where he would then become successful beating him for the US title. So when you plan to build a heel into a contender, make sure to make them feel like a heel using the rivalry actions in universe mode. There's a lot of great distractions, attacks, brawls. They really bring out these heel tactics to help make your characters and superstars feel believable when they eventually really get that opportunity and use those same tactics then. Then the second way heels win titles, we talked about this already with the faces, it's Money in the Bank. We previously mentioned how the Money in the Bank briefcase can be a great way to use a cheap and dirty tactic to go ahead and win a title on the spot. And for a heel, this is what you want to see. While you do want to eventually get that big dirty cash-in pop, you need to build it up correctly though. Make sure you have your Money in the Bank holder at ringside of the champion's matches. Maybe they could be a manager for the champion's opponents during matches so they can keep an eye on the champion, waiting for that right moment to cash in. And there are many other ways you can get creative with the build, a lot of rivalry action in game. So make sure you don't forget about making them constantly evolve to the champion, as in real life, you always see them week in, week out, little moments, big moments where you think a cash-in is going to happen, but eventually doesn't happen. You just got to make sure they're always involved, or the eventual cash-in just really doesn't seem nearly as big. So outside of those face and heel ways that they usually win titles or contend for them, there are some other simple ways to really bring in new contenders. Number one contenders matches obviously happen, and then you have tournaments like King and Queen of the Ring. And also, those number one contenders matches and tournaments are great ways to enhance your weekly shows and make sure you give other talent TV time so many faces are seen across your division. Next up, we're going to look at more of how champions evolve, because all superstars evolve throughout the years in their wrestling career, as many will totally change their gimmicks over time, while others will just have some small changes that really further their character development. So for this video, because we're focusing on championship reigns and contenders, we're not going to take a look at huge gimmick overhauls, but rather just the small character changes that really develop as champions change over time while holding their titles. So one way heel champions can evolve over time is changing from more dirty tricks to something that's more aggressive attacks. Maybe over time they think that dirty tricks really aren't working out as well, it's causing them issues, or maybe just the face is really pissing them off, and it really creates a breaking point of when they go from dirty little tricks, feet up on the ropes while pinning them, maybe cheap little thumb to the eye attacks. Instead, maybe they attack them before a match, attack their contender after a match. Really get more aggressive, get more paranoid, and go with some more attacks. Another way heel champion can evolve is by becoming more desperate. This can make them feel like they're close to losing their title, and they need to do something desperate to make sure they hold on to it. I think maybe Chelsea Green. She had Piper Niven there to have her back, but then between Michin, B-Fab, Zelina, it felt like all of these faces were kind of ganging up on her, and she needed more help. So what did she do? She added Alba Fire. She got more desperate, more backup, more help, which allowed for more cheap tactics, more desperate actions from her help during her matches. Ultimately ended up failing, but she got more desperate and did a lot more to try and help her hold on to that title. Now for face champions, they don't always evolve as much as heels seem to, but a cool way that I think a face could evolve is during a dominant championship run. Maybe they get a little bit cockier over time. I don't have a great example of this, but Cena, when he wasn't holding the title, but against The Rock, that first time he got cocky and it cost him the match. Maybe a champion gets cockier and it costs them their title in a match. And what's cool is this could even evolve further, as maybe you have a huge payoff with this, with a massive heel turn after a loss, because they just can't handle the loss with how cocky they've gotten. There are plenty of other ways you can evolve champions throughout time. These were just a few examples to help you guys out. And with that, I have a lot more tips and tricks for universe mode and booking help. Go check out those videos on my channel. and please make sure to like and subscribe for a lot more WWE 2K25 and Universe content.